Thank you very much. Thank you. And hello.
Hey everybody, it's Matthew Street, and welcome to the attic again. I know, folks, I said I wouldn't be back here for a while. It's getting cold, and I'm up here freezing. That's why. But I had to do it, folks. I had to come into the attic, because up here in the attic at my home, it's cold, you're alone, and you're isolated. And being December 8th, that's the way I wanted to feel when I made this video. I wanted to be in a place where I could feel the cold, where I could feel the isolation and being alone. Because December 8th, 1980, I felt devastated, I felt sad, and I felt cold and alone. And I think almost for every December 8th since 1980, I have felt that way. Because, and I'm sure many of you feel that way too, because for me on that day in 1980, it changed my life, and I'm sure many of you would agree with me, changed our lives forever when we lost John Lennon. Now, many of you have probably heard the term the butterfly effect or the ripple effect. Basically what it means is that something by chance, a chance encounter or a chance event happens to you in your life, and that chance encounter or event leads to a life-changing event or relationship. It happened all by, call it luck, call it chance, the ripple effect, whatever. That one thing that happened to you, it could be like a career opportunity. You make a decision about a job, to either leave a job or start a job, and because you chose one over the other, it leads you on a path in a certain direction. But what if you had taken that other path? How would your life have been affected? Or you commit a small act of kindness towards somebody or something, and it has a ripple effect of positivity. Or someone commits an act of kindness towards you, and it causes you to do something you may not have done to keep that positivity going. Maybe a minor decision you made led to a big, significant, unexpected experience later in your life. You didn't plan it, but as you look back on it, I go, oh my goodness, if I hadn't done that, or if I didn't make that what I thought was a little tiny decision then, oh my goodness, this big experience that I've had in my life never would have happened. That person, I never would have met them. I never would have been part of something. I can give you a couple of quick examples for me, and I'll move into the main meat of this video, which is about John Lennon and this terrible day we're experiencing today, December 8th. My grandfather was a master carpenter and cabinet maker, came over from Italy in the early 20th century with his family. My uncles, who were my mother's two older brothers, I should say, my older uncles, my grandfather, to help them establish themselves in life in the early 50s and during the 50s, helped both of them during different times during the 50s, helped them build their small little starter homes in Rhode Island. He could do it almost single-handedly. He had help by them and his friends and that, but my grandfather helped build their two homes. Homes they started in, had my cousins in, built their families and lives in. Well, my parents got married in 1956. I was born in 1961. They also wanted my grandfather to help them start a little home, as a carpenter, build them a home that they could start their family in, build their life in. So they bought a small piece of land in northern Rhode Island. The plans were set. They were going to build this home. It was the early 60s. I had been born. They were living in a second floor apartment above my grandparents in Providence, Rhode Island, and they were ready. Let's do it. They built a small piece of land, as I said. They're all set. They're making the plans. He's going to start building the home for them. They wanted to get it moving. My dad was going to have a job opportunity. I was going to be coming, I don't know the whole timeline, but anyway, they had to get it done. We got to get it home. We can't stay in this small second floor apartment forever. Right before they're ready to get the home started, and within a couple of months, back in those days, they build homes quick. They were going to be in their home. My grandfather has an accident. He falls and causes an injury to one of his arms and his ribs. He fell, broke his arm, shoulder problems, the whole thing. Going to be laid up for a long time, rehab and whatnot. My parents were devastated, but they had to get into a home. They wanted to get into a home. They couldn't afford to just hire some builder or carpenter to build a home for them. My grandfather was going to essentially do it for, just the kindness of his heart. So they sadly sold that piece of land in northern Rhode Island, and they ended up buying a small little ranch in southeastern Massachusetts, miles away, across the Rhode Island line, and that's where they started their family, my parents, including me and my two little brothers. And I think of that happening, and I say, what if Grandpa didn't fall and break his arm? What if he had been able to build that house in northern Rhode Island? That's where I would have lived. That's where I would have grown up, and where my parents would have lived for the better part of half a century, because they lived in the house in Massachusetts for about 50 years. So I would have been raised there. I would have gone to school there. I would have gone to high school there. I would have met friends there. I would have had girlfriends in high school from that town, prom with a girl from that town, from that sports I played in that town, people I met, things I did. I wouldn't have met Mrs. Street. The only reason I met Mrs. Street and had my 2 children, now 4 grandchildren, is because I got a job at a Burger King right up the street from where I lived in southeastern Massachusetts. And so did Mrs. Street. And that's where we met, at Burger King. And here we are, 48 years later, since I met her at Burger King in 1978. Yeah, 45, 6, 7, yeah, 40, 47, whatever it is. I don't want math. Never would have happened. Never would have met her. Wouldn't be sitting here right now. Wouldn't probably be talking to you if my parents said my grandfather hadn't fallen and broken his arm in 1960 or whatever it was. Would I even be here talking to you right now? It blows my mind when you think of something like that. How the butterfly effect, a ripple effect, can change so many lives and affect so many people in so many situations and events. One little event, him breaking his arm, them selling the land, buying a house somewhere else. My whole life went on a totally different trajectory. Or how about in the mid-70s? Just as I had gotten into high school, my father had a job opportunity to leave where we were in Massachusetts and move across the country to a town or a suburb near San Francisco. He could have taken a job opportunity with better pay, and they came this close. My parents and father have told me they came this close to doing it in like 1975 or something like that. And he didn't do it. They didn't pull the situation in and say, let's do it. They said, no. Where would I be? I would have been raised most of my teenage years and probably settled out in the San Francisco, California area. I wouldn't be here. Big decisions, small decisions, chance for a job, take another. Chance to help somebody with something, can't do it, they do something. And that's how I feel on a more serious, on a more sad level. A negative level, a sad, just down, dirty, devastating negative with losing John Lennon in 1980 on this day, December 8th. How it affected, that ripple effect, that butterfly effect, how it affected so much because a coward, a slimy nobody, a 25-year-old piece of shite, loser, took so much from John in that one cowardly act. Took so much from John's family, from Yoko, from Sean, Julian. John's friends lost so much. Paul, George and Ringo. The world, all of us lost so much by that one heinous act. Think about it. Our actions, decisions can have such a profound, unforeseen impact on the world around us. Negative and positive ways. You think it's insignificant, but you make a decision, you do something, and the impact it can have on you and others, you may not be able to imagine it at the moment, but what happened on December 8th, 1980, and impacted us, all of us, every one of us, in so many negative ways, I think. I can't see a positive. I can't see a positive. You can look at, well, they did, they tried to, bring about change because of what happened. It never should have happened. It just, so many negative, sad things have affected all of us, and especially those close to John. Music has been affected because of what happened to John. The world is far worse off because of what happened on December 8th, 1980. What could have been? We can't sit here, though. I can't sit here and mire and live in the muck and in the misery of it. You can't. We can't do that. We gotta... The day brings it forward. We think about it when this day comes around once a year, and we just say, we got to go forward somehow. We got to put that one foot in front of the other and somehow honor him, remember him, cherish what we have of John and his music and the memories. And I guess if you want to live in a way that makes your life better, to honor him and remember him, to make those around you better, those you love, by the way you act towards them and the way you treat others. Honor John that way. Honor his memory that way. Listen to his music and try to let it inspire you, and let it inspire you. Let it inspire us. Yeah, especially back then, and we're still broken by his loss. It breaks us to think about what happened, how silly, I don't think there's a word for it, how dumb, how pointless it was to do what that monster did. It just doesn't make sense, but each day to try to work being better, being a better person, and make the world better in a small positive way by what we do. I guess that's the way we can honor John and his memory. I don't know what else to say. I can't celebrate this day. It's a day of mourning. It's a day of sadness, as I said earlier. That's why I'm up here. It's cold. I'm isolated. I'm alone. And I want to feel that way when I make this video, because that's how I feel when I think about what happened to John. And there's no silver lining way to look at it. It's just not. So anyway, I just wanted to honor John in some way today and say, move forward, people. Be positive. Be helpful to others. Be kind to others. Listen to the music. Revel in the music and the joy of the sounds and of those melodies and those lyrics and the hope. And try to honor him as best you can. That's all I'm trying to do here. Love you all. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.
The people in the cheaper seats, clap your hands. And the rest of you, if you just rattle your jewelry.